The chosen one Googled the name Elon Musk, and you shone like a new star in the sky. Remember, the most influential people in history didn't wait for an invitation. They shaped the world with their own power. You too need to accept the energy you have, because it was not given to you. You are the source of that power. Remember that 1-minute thought break you took. Most people feel the force in their hearts, in their intuition, rather than in their eyes. And this gives them fear. Just as scientists have discovered, your being has the capacity to affect the feelings, thoughts, and even the bodies of others. When you know this, you will no longer stand on the fine line between madness and genius, because you are someone who acts according to your own truth. To send a powerful message to the universe, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and write 77 in the comments before moving on to why tomorrow has something special in store for you. That's why you are said to be among the chosen ones. Visionary people like Elon Musk intuitively know this truth and are looking for you. Now is not the time to hide who you are and what you can do. Own your power, channel it, and compel the world to tell your story. Because what scares you is not seeing how big you are, it's realizing how big you feel. Have you ever noticed how some people feel uneasy around you? Perhaps they are taking subtle jabs at your self-confidence, being strangely competitive, or trying to discredit you. This is not something arbitrary. It arises naturally. People addicted to fear and control start to sweat when they see someone with sheer, unstoppable energy. You don't realize how powerful you are, but they do. And that's exactly why you need to hear it. That's why they are working very hard to prevent you from realizing it. Let's discuss it. Let's examine it. Because if you really realize what is inside you, the game changes forever. Number 1. The status quo is only upset by your presence. You don't need to prove yourself to others. You don't need to move mountains or make speeches. Everything they have created is already shattered by your presence. It disrupts the way you think, the way you go into a place, the way you just are. You don't fit into the mold they want so much, not because you are trying to fit. And for them, that is a problem. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, now is the time to let your love shine. When you click on the Super Thank button and donate $50 or more, you will be doing much more than helping our platform. Many lives will be impacted by the seeds of faith you plant. God's richness is reflected in your generosity, a gift that resonates beyond your physical senses. Be a channel for His grace and live your destiny. Give with confidence and see His kingdom grow through you. You were created for more. Predictability is what people live with. Expectations are the foundation of society, institutions, and even the individuals in your immediate environment. But they don't know how to deal with you when you deviate from what is normal or don't fit the plan. To connect yourself to divine intervention and receive the gifts of clarity, courage, and unconditional love. Write 88 in the comments section if you feel the weight of this message in your soul. You represent something beyond their control. You cannot be fixed. They cannot categorize you. Moreover, they cannot trick you into believing that you are smaller than you really are. This is why you make people uncomfortable. Some may try to minimize you, pretend you are too much, or advise you to calm down, not because you need it, but rather because your presence makes them feel insignificant. You are here for a reason. If you feel chosen, it is time to answer the call. By clicking the Join button, you can access deep insights, unique information, and a powerful community willing to accompany you on your journey. This is an opportunity to fully embrace your divine destiny and seize the path designed for you. It is more than just a membership. Do not hesitate. Step forward and become one of the chosen ones. They have to face their own limitations, fears, and resistance to liberation. And instead of dealing with them, they prefer to pass them on to you. You don't have to prove anything to be strong. Just by being who you are, unrepentant, unique, conscious, you upset the system as a whole. That's why they respond to you in this way. Even if you haven't done anything to them personally, they are still intimidated by that, because you are really accomplishing something. You are offering them a life that they don't understand or dare. And the best part? You don't need their consent. You are a force independent of their acceptance, so you don't need others to understand. And nothing scares individuals more than an uncontrollable situation. Secondly, they fear the unknown, and you are unpredictable. People fear what they cannot predict, not what they understand. That's exactly why you scare people. The patterns they are used to are not followed by you. You don't react the way they expect. They assume you will follow the rules, but you don't. Those who are addicted to control find this kind of unpredictability frustrating. Most individuals lead circular lives. They follow an unseen script without question, saying what is expected of them and doing what should be done. But then there is you. You do not belong to their preconceived stories. They cannot categorize you, and they will never admit how much it bothers them. For the next 48 hours, you will be materially abundant. Write 99 to confirm that what you are about to learn today will change your life. You don't act like them, so they watch you to see what you will do next. They wait for your response, but it is not the response they expect. They test you, they make you uncomfortable, and they even try to imprison you because of that. Because if they can make you predictable, they can control you. Also, when that fails, terror kicks in. Not everyone who speaks the loudest or takes up the most space is powerful. The ability to be unreadable, to make others question you and wonder what you will do next, is what really has power. If they can't predict you, they can't control you. If they can't predict your next move, they can't plan it. And the panic starts when they discover that they never took you into account in the first place. Predictability is not something you owe to anyone. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit their limited view of you. The more you accept that you can act differently, think for yourself and behave as you see fit, the greater power you have. And the more they realize that despite their best efforts, they will never fully realize your potential until it is too late. Number 3. They have a problem because they don't need permission to be great. Most people are waiting for approval. They expect to be accepted. They are waiting for someone to confirm that it's okay for them to get what they want. But the reality is that nobody is coming to give you permission. You are not going to get respect, authority, or a seat at the table from anyone. Those who have them will grab them without waiting. And the moment you choose to do the same, you start causing trouble for people who take advantage of your meekness. People are indoctrinated that in order to get ahead, they have to be chosen by a superior, by a system, or by society. This is not true. The purpose of the fable is to keep you immobilized while others take action. The one thing that keeps most people stuck, the fear of moving forward without acceptance, disappears as soon as you realize that you don't need anyone's approval to be great. That's why they don't like it when you work in a different way. When you stop apologizing for wanting more, when you take up space without questioning whether you deserve it, and when you start owning your voice without asking whether it is too loud. They find this irritating because they want approval to feel they deserve it. And what about you? You are not you. Therefore, you are unpredictable. You are risky. You are dangerous. They will try to humiliate you, to make you question yourself, to convince you that you are not ready. Because if you think like that, you will hesitate. You will resist. You will remain confident long enough for them to succeed. But if you choose not to play this game, if you decide that you are ready and you don't want their permission, the game changes in your favor. You can occupy the space without permission. You can move forward without a green signal. You have the power even if they don't accept it. The important thing is whether you realize it or not. Because once you realize it, Nothing can stop you, not even their rules, doubts, or opinions. Number 4. People are forced to face their own limitations by your presence. There is a reason why some people respond to you passionately, and it is not necessarily because of what you do. What you stand for is important. You remind them of all the things they have not yet become, everything they want to do but can't. They have buried every version of themselves behind fear, complacency, and excuses. And instead of facing this bitter truth, they take the easy way out by projecting their dissatisfaction onto you. It is not always clear. Sometimes it can take the form of derogatory remarks, subtly competitive statements, or underhanded compliments. You believe you are better than everyone else. Why do you make such a big effort? It must be nice to have that self-confidence. In reality, they are saying that it is easier to criticize you than to admit that I am holding myself back and that I see something in you that I wish I had in myself. Just being mediocre doesn't make people angry. They don't spend time and effort hating people who make them feel comfortable. But someone who questions how they see themselves, someone who makes them realize how wasted their talents are, that's another matter entirely. For them, you are much more than a person. You are a reflection, and when they don't like what they see, it can hurt to look in that mirror. So some people will try to belittle your achievements, or try to make you doubt yourself. If they can undermine yours, they won't have to deal with their own self-confidence. If they can bring you down to their level, they will not have to rise to your level. However, that is their struggle, not yours. Their anxiety is not your fault. It is not your responsibility to comfort them at the expense of your own development. You will motivate those who are ready for change. Those who are not ready will feel intimidated. In any case, it is all about them and has nothing to do with you. Keep moving on. Keep ascending, and let them work things out on their own. Number 5. The moment they start discussing you, you have already won. The moment people start talking about you, you have already won. The truth is that people don't waste their efforts on meaningless things. They don't spread rumors about unimportant people. When someone is not a danger, they don't try to undermine him. They try to bring you down because you are important, so your name is on their lips. And whether they admit it or not, they are aware of it. People attack what they fear. It acts as a protection. When they see someone rising who challenges authority and doesn't need their consent to move forward, something deep inside them is triggered. It reminds them of their own shortcomings, fears, and limitations. And instead of fixing themselves, they become obsessed with you. They will misrepresent you, belittle your skills, and try to make you feel less than you are, not because it's right, but because they want it to be so. If they can convince themselves that you're just lucky, that you don't deserve what you have, and that you're not a danger, they won't have to deal with the fact that you're already over them. What's the funniest part? The more they talk, the more power they give you. Every time they mention your name, they increase your influence. They prove your worth every time they try to humiliate you. You inadvertently become more important to those who want you to fail. So, let them speak. Let them whisper. Let them use their energy to undermine you. Because while they are busy with you, you're focused on winning. You don't need to protect yourself. Nothing needs to be proved by you. Just their reaction alone is proof that you are already making an impact. And that is a win. Number 6. Respect is more important than being liked. The urge to be liked traps most individuals. The problem is that when you live for acceptance, you become addicted to it. They reshape themselves according to what other people think is acceptable. They change their words, actions, and even goals to fit a mold that makes them acceptable. Also, when you are dependent, you are controlled. This is why those in positions of authority want respect rather than popularity. Because respect has a basis. It doesn't matter how many people pat you on the back or grin at you. Even if they don't like you personally, what matters is how much others see your value. There is a reason why the most influential people in history were not universally loved. They had no intention of pleasing everyone. They were too busy making an impression. They were too busy acting in ways that upset the system, saying what needed to be said and doing what needed to be done. And when you act in this way, you are sure to anger people. But the truth is, you don't have to win everybody over. All you need is respect from the right people. Because respect opens doors. It forces others to get to know you, even if they don't want to. It places you in situations where your presence is indisputable and makes popularity meaningless. The moment you stop trying to please others, you become invincible. You act in a unique way. You stop trying to explain yourself. Stop defending your decisions. Stop sacrificing yourself for the comfort of others. That's when real power comes in. Let them underestimate you. Let them misinterpret you. Let them speak. Because in the end, you don't get anything from their approval but their respect. That is permanent. It changes the situation. So you cannot be stopped. Number 7. You don't speak their language, so they cannot understand you. There is a reason why they don't understand you. Not because you need to explain yourself more. Not because you are wrong. Not because you are too much. It is because you are not even speaking the same language. They speak with fear. You speak with action. They talk about self-imposed limitations, hesitations, and excuses. You talk about action, development, and implementation. You say, "Let's make it happen," and they respond, "But what if it doesn't work?" You ask yourself, "What next?" They ask themselves, "What is the safest option?" You use a different frequency when you play. They are trapped in a vicious circle, repeating the same stories, the same fears, and the same uncertainties that comfort them. And the most unsettling thing for individuals is to see someone who doesn't want to be trapped with them. So they see you as a weirdo. That's why they accuse you of being arrogant or irresponsible or unrealistic. This is not because of you. It's because your perspective belittles theirs. And instead of standing up to meet you, they would rather pull you back to a point where they can once again understand you. But you don't owe it to them. You don't have to make yourself smaller to make them feel safe. You don't need to slow down to keep up with them. If they cannot understand your actions, let them remain puzzled. If they can't understand why you think the way you do, let them misread you. Let them engage in the same discussions and repeat the same concerns if they want to. But what about you? You have things to build, places to see, and a future to shape. They don't need to understand. You have to keep moving. For people who should be at your level, as soon as they hear your language, they will be able to identify it. Number 8. Your silence has as much power as your words. Power is more than words. The weakest person in the room is usually the one who makes the most noise. Restraint is the key to real power. The things you don't say, the things you don't answer, and the things you decide not to answer. People get tense when there is silence. It makes people fill in the blanks, project their own thoughts, and wonder what you were thinking. And that's where the real control is. When you get into an argument, when you over-explain or make an effort to prove yourself, you lose your power. You give them a starting point, something to distort and oppose. But when you remain silent, they have nothing. Silence cannot be distorted by them. They cannot control something that does not exist. So when you don't respond, people get flustered. They anticipate that you will get defensive, that you will defend yourself and put yourself in their shoes. However, when you don't engage with them, when you let their words float in a vacuum, you drive people crazy. They rush to get a reaction out of you and force you to make a statement because the moment you do, they have won. You are drawn into their game. However, those in positions of authority do not engage in such activity. They let their presence, actions, and consequences speak louder than words. They are aware that silence has its own reaction, a reaction that makes others uneasy, demands attention, and forces them to feel their presence rather than just hear their words. Not everything needs a response. Not every word is worthy of a response. Every insult, gossip, and attempt to annoy you is not worth the effort it takes to respond. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is what it means to be powerful. Once you grasp this, you are untouchable. Number 9. People tense around exceptions, and you are the exception. People like to think there are rules, not just regulations, but unwritten rules about success, life, and what is applicable. They convince themselves that they must choose this path to be successful. To be successful, you have to fulfill these requirements. You have to stay in line, bide your time, and pay your dues. They are comfortable with these ideas. They give them a sense of structure. Then you show up and do nothing about it. You act in a unique way. You achieve success without asking permission. You achieve success without following the plan they have convinced themselves is the only viable option. And that scares them. Because if the rules they base their lives on don't apply to you, they may never have applied to anyone. So they try to discredit you. They act as if you have cheated the system, label you as lucky, or claim that you have an unfair advantage. Because if they accept that you are proof that the rules have never been right, they will have to face the fact that they have been strangling themselves all along. And most people would rather keep their comfort than face that reality. They don't despise you, because you represent a reality for which they are not prepared. A world where they could do more, but choose not to. Where playing it safe is not necessary, and where the limitations they think they have are self-imposed. So they act out. They belittle your achievements. They act as if you are the odd one out. But because you show them that boundaries are imaginary, that nothing can stop them but themselves, and that rules don't apply, they realize the truth. This is why exceptions create anxiety, because when one person shows that the rules never apply, everyone should start doubting what they believe to be true. Number 10. You are a threat because you see through illusions. The majority of individuals are sleeping. They are trapped, not physically, but mentally, in a system that keeps people busy, chasing meaningless things, and accepting lies that keep them small. They are taught that power is something given rather than taken, that pleasure comes from external validation, and that success is about getting approval. And because it is easier to believe than to examine, they believe it. And what about you? You don't accept it. Illusions are visible to you. The game is familiar to you. You know how to win, which is much worse. And that makes you a threat to all systems as well as to people. Because those who can see through the cacophony are impossible to control. They cannot be subdued by false incentives or promises. They don't waste time chasing goals that are meant to keep them busy but don't materialize. This puts everything at risk. They encourage people to go in circles, believing that the only way to succeed is to follow their own rules. But you are more knowledgeable. You understand that true power lies in not needing acceptance, not in chasing it. The true path to success is to build your own path, not to follow the path others have paved for you. Once you have seen it, you cannot take it back. That's why they work so hard to silence you, discredit you, or make you question yourself. Because you are right, not because you are wrong. Because you are strong, not because you are weak. Because the only people who can stop this trend are people like you, who think independently, act consciously, and challenge authority. What scares them the most is that when you really embrace your power, other people will realize it too. And when that happens, the system as a whole starts to crumble. Because all it takes is one person to show that the game is rigged for everyone to stop playing by the rules. Number 11. The higher you level up, the lonelier you become. But that's a good thing. The higher you go, the fewer people can breathe at your height. The architecture of the system is flawed, not the system itself. A degree of resilience that most individuals lack is necessary for strength, success, and self-mastery. You will also notice that as you advance, the crowd diminishes. At first, it seems personal. You question why people you used to trust start to drift away, why some relationships seem strained, why you are less understood by others. But then you realize that you have not changed negatively, because they had no intention of rising so high. Power is not something that everyone is suited for. It requires self-awareness, discipline, and resilience, which most people don't want to develop. Some people would rather be comfortable than move forward. Some people are addicted to mediocrity, excuses, and distractions. They either rise with you or fall back when you take a bigger step. Most prefer the latter. This is not a loss. It is a filter. Those who cannot stand the challenge of your development were never intended to accompany you on your journey. If they were, they would be leveling up too. But you can tell they are not fit for the next level when they start to resent your success, make you feel bad for wanting more, or secretly try to keep you reachable. Being alone at the top is not a bad thing. It is a sign that you are exactly where you need to be. It shows that you haven't given up. You have kept going. You persisted when others were making excuses. So who should be at the top? There you will be discovered. Because the higher you go, the fewer distractions you have. Your course becomes clearer, and the more you agree with those who understand it, the better. So let them fall. Let them misinterpret you. Let them stay in their comfort zone. Not everyone is suited for your quest, and that is exactly what gives it its power. Number 12. They cannot handle the truth, so they want you to doubt yourself. Those who fear your power know very well how to use doubt as a weapon. They don't have to stop you completely. They just have to make you doubt yourself, because when you start doubting, when you pause, when you question your own abilities, they don't have to stop you. You will handle it on your own. That is the game. They plant seeds of uncertainty. Subtle comments, sidelong glances. Worry disguised as a warm support. Do you think you're ready for this? What if you fail? Usually people like us don't get very far. This is not guidance. It's not caution. They project their fear onto you, because the reality is that as a result of your progress, individuals are forced to face their own wrongs. For years, they have convinced themselves that the chosen few will succeed, that self-confidence is arrogance, that bold actions are dangerous, and that staying small is a wise choice. Then you came along and challenged all the rules they claimed to be true. You show that fear is a decision, that limits are self-imposed, and that the key to success is not permission, but perseverance. And that really shook them, because if you are right, they are wrong. Also, instead of accepting it and rising with you, they will want to pull you down again. The result is the imposter syndrome. Not because you don't belong, but because you have entered a realm of reality that most people would never dare to enter. When you start doubting yourself, identify the source. This is not your reality. They own it. All the people who have never dared to do what you are doing are trying to pull you back to where they feel safe. But you don't owe it to them. You don't have to carry their worries. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. Let them remain delusional. Your course is clear, and the moment you stop trying to win their favor, you are invincible. Number 13. The person least afraid of losing is the most powerful person in the room. Having the biggest fortune, the loudest voice, or the highest prestige is not about power. The source of true power is one thing: lack of fear. And the person who is least afraid of losing is the most powerful person in the room. The majority of individuals are driven by fear. Fear of not succeeding, fear of being judged, fear of losing what they have created. The so-called powerful, those with prestige, titles, and influence, are often as captive as the people. Because they do not mobilize to win, they migrate to avoid losing. They go on the defensive. They avoid danger, accumulate, and defend. They never really rise because they are afraid of falling. And what about you? This is a different game you play. You don't feel a frantic need to hold on to things. Scarcity, the urge to impress, or the fear of what will happen if all else fails are not the reasons for your movement. You are not attached to a particular outcome because you realize what most others don't realize. That freedom is the real power. Once you overcome your fear of losing things, you become unpredictable. You do things that other people would not dare to do. You take risks that seem crazy to those controlled by fear. You are not constrained by the desire for comfort, safety, or acceptability. And for anyone who is, it turns you into a nightmare. So they cannot control you. They cannot use rejection, threats, or the possibility of failure to manipulate you. You are not affected by it. This is why fearless individuals move forward while others remain stagnant. Because while they are busy holding on to what they have so as not to lose it, you are out there doing more. You are growing, pitching, and creating games. Of course, you will lose sometimes, but you will keep moving. You keep rebuilding. Keep changing while they stay where they are. Put your fear aside. Avoid sacrificing what you can have to protect what you have now. The moment you do that, you become unstoppable. For someone who has nothing to fear, nobody has any influence over that person. Number 14, you are not the shelter. You are the storm. They want you to be reliable, controllable, simple to categorize. They anticipate that you will take precautions, seek cover, and act cautiously so as not to upset the status quo. Because that's what most people do. They seek solace. They stay away from unrest. They also contract to fit into spaces that were never designed for them. And what about you? Sanctuary was never designed for you. You are not the shelter. You are the storm. They can feel it even if they don't express it. In the way you act, the way you speak. They say the rules are unbreakable, but you don't follow them. The fantasy on which people have built their lives is upset by your presence. And that's why people are worried. Storms don't ask for permission. They don't wait for permission. They don't move carefully so as not to disturb. Whether people are ready for it or not, storms change everything. That is why they try to create doubt in you. That is why they advise you not to rush into decisions, to be careful, and to consider the feelings of others. They do not care about your well-being. What is important to them is control. Their aim is to keep you under control, to weaken you, and to make you small and manageable. But this is not what you were created for. Silence, security, and anonymity were not designed for you. You were designed to shake the world, to change the weather, to mobilize individuals. So let them misinterpret you. Let them feel uneasy. Let them speak, because those who build their lives on things that are too fragile to withstand the wind are the ones who fear the storm. But who is prepared, they will rise with you. You are not supposed to hide. Everything was supposed to change because of you. Being the loudest, the most popular, or the most acceptable is not about power. It's about being aware of who you are, not diminishing yourself and acting with unstoppable intensity. It's about stepping into the version of yourself that most people are afraid to be, seeing through illusions and breaking rules that never existed. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. Moreover, you don't have to explain yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. Let them speak. Let them have doubts. Let them impose their anxieties on you. It doesn't matter because you are still different from them. You don't follow their rules. You don't try to win them over. Fear does not mobilize you. As a result, you become an uncontrollable force. They feel it, even if they don't admit it. Even if they pretend not to feel it, they see it. They also know in their hearts that you are not here to fit in. You are here to make all the difference. Let them feel uneasy. Let them ask you questions. Let them go. The air gets thinner at the top as you ascend. People are not made for this. Not everyone is brave enough to choose this route. But you choose it. Keep moving. Keep creating problems. Keep evolving. Because the moment you stop trying to get their approval and truly accept who you are destined to be, you become unstoppable. If this message has had a different effect on you, whether it made you think or feel something, or be reminded of your true nature, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, like it, and leave a comment. We're just getting started, so if you're ready for more plain, unadulterated truth to motivate you to move forward, subscribe to the channel and enable alerts. The world needs more individuals who don't play small. More individuals who defy the law, upset the establishment, and use all their power. If this is you, stand your ground. This is your moment.